Have you ever wondered what happens when you get arrested? For most people, this is a terrifying experience, and understanding the process can just ease it or make it a little bit more less intimidating. I'm Lee, I work in the criminal law in England and Wales, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of being arrested, or the process of just being arrested in itself. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible because I don't want to overcomplicate it with too much actual legal stuff. I just want to give you the information that help you understand the circumstances you may find yourself in or a loved one in. So when can police make an arrest? Okay, so they've got to have some sort of suspicion that someone's been involved in some sort of offence. That can arise from somebody reporting it or CCTV and the police being able to identify somebody. But they've got to have that sort of suspicion. They just can't think, I'm going to arrest him for that offence. Okay, obviously not. But they've also got to have a necessity for the arrest. And this can be, there's a few, okay, but the common ones I see is to protect someone or protect a vulnerable person, or for interviewing, or for prompt investigation into the offence. So they're the main ones that I do see that come up. In fact, I'm not obviously going to share anything to do with actual cases with you, but to allow for an effective and prompt investigation of the offence to protect a child or other vulnerable persons, to allow an effective and prompt investigation into the offence. I mean, it's quite broad, isn't it? If an officer uses that, then they've pretty much got the necessity there. These can be found in, well, the necessity test and the reasonable suspicion test can be found in PACE Code G, and the Section 24 of PACE allows for arrests when the officer does not have a warrant. Okay, if the officer has a warrant from the court, you're dealing with different set of circumstances or elements of, how they can make the arrest, but we're just dealing with an arrest without a warrant. Okay, so when police make an arrest, they must ID themselves if they're not in obviously police uniform. I'm Detective Smith, or Joey Barnes, or whatever. And they must explain the arrest as well. They must tell you why you're being arrested, and they should caution you. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say can be given in evidence. Okay, so they must read you the caution. And obviously, following that, you have rights, okay? You have rights for free legal advice or services. Sorry about the squeaky chair, that needs some WD-40, doesn't it? Gosh. You can have a right to obviously inform somebody of your arrest, and you can have medical attention if needed as well. Now, to inform someone of your arrest, many people get this mistaken with, I have a right to a phone call. Technically, you don't have a right to a phone call, as in you, the person being detained, does not have a right to use the phone to call somebody. That's kind of like a privilege there, and I know most people say it's their right, but it's actually not. But I haven't really came across anybody who's been denied outright that right yet. But you have a right to allow somebody to know where you are. That's the right, okay? And obviously medical attention as well. So if you're on like medication, to have your meds. I mean, I've seen situations where people have came in with just like pills in their pocket and say that's their medication to take. The police are not going to give you that, or the CDOs at the police station are not going to give you that, or the medical staff, because it doesn't have their name on it or anything like that. It could be anything, okay? So it needs to be correct, but you can have medical care whilst in the police station as well. PACE Code C covers with the rights of detention and including free legal advice with the medical attention. So I just want to emphasise this bit about the free legal advice. I'm not sure, or I'm shocked with how many people I see in the police station who do not take the chance to speak to a legal advisor. And I say legal advisor because you're not always going to speak to a fully qualified solicitor. You may speak to an accredited police station rep, which is what I am. But we, as in the accredited police station reps, spend most of our time, or majority of our time, at the police station, okay? I just find it really bizarre, and again, it's the person's choice. I'm not here to force anybody, or convince anybody, and I'm talking about this is not legal advice, it's just my opinion and maybe perhaps a little bit of education if it helps someone. But if you have a chance for free legal independent advice, take it. I hear people saying, yeah, but I'm innocent. Yes, okay, that's good. Take the advice. If you've been detained and you've not done anything wrong, why would you not? Like, really, honestly, why would you not take that legal advice? Okay, so you've been arrested, or let's talk about a third person who's been arrested. Fred's been arrested, and now he's being transported to his local custody suite. I've been to my local one. So they would come in, they would go into a holding cell, until the custody sergeant is ready. They would come, they'd stand in front of a custody sergeant. The police officer will obviously tell the sergeant why the arrest has been made, the alleged offence. If the sergeant's satisfied, then he will authorise the detention. Now that's important. When he authorises the detention is when your 24-hour clock starts. Okay, when he's authorised it, boom, the clock is now ticking for the police. And a lot of the time, I know people want to get out, but it's a waiting game. You know, strong mind, they've got 24 hours from them. He will read, or she, as in the sergeant, will read the rights, or offer like a book of rights for the detained person, and then they'll be put into the holding cell. They'll go for like biometrics, or fingerprint swab and photos. And I don't want to get too much into the legal or legality of what happens after that. Just for the process of being arrested, that's what will happen. The food obviously there isn't great, but you can have breakfast bars and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not fantastic. Neither is tea or coffee, to be honest. If you've requested representation, then say for an example, you've requested me. We've picked you up from the DSCC essentially, okay, and I would call the police station. I would get all the information about you and the alleged offence, and when you was arrested, arrival time, when it was authorised, your unique custody number, and then I will speak to you on the phone, so you'd be able to speak to a representative or some sort of legal advisor on the phone. And then what I would do, I would come down, I would speak to the police in private and obtain what is known as disclosure. Okay, now the police doesn't have to give me everything. They can withhold information, but it needs to be sufficient enough that I can advise you and take instructions. Okay, it's not often that the police has really withheld stuff. It does happen, but I say to them, look, ultimately, sir or ma'am, you know, we've got to work together, and I don't want to have to keep pausing the interview to take new instructions with information you're going to produce in the interview. It's going to long it out. It's going to make your job a lot longer as well as mine. So generally it doesn't happen, but occasionally it does. I would then meet with my client, and again, this is where the client and I will have a consultation in private. I will share everything I know with my client, and if they decide to, they don't have to. If they decide to, they can give me instructions, their point of view, what's happened, and then if they want, I can advise them. And that's all it is. It's just advice. It's not something that, you know, you have to listen to. Many people, I feel like, kind of have an idea what they want to do anyway, and I say, look, this is what I think. I think these are the best way to proceed in the interview, and they either listen or they don't. If the truth of the matter is, I'm not there solely to protect them against themselves. I'm there to make sure that they're fully informed, the police are doing what they need to do correctly and following the right procedures, and I'm not there to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do, and that's the truth. Now the 24-hour clock can be extended. It has been extended a few times. It doesn't happen often. Again, I don't want to get too into it, but you know, there's procedures behind how long and who can authorise that extension. But generally, we're talking 24 hours the police have to, get as much evidence they can and put it to you in interview under caution. Again, the interview will be under caution, so when you go in, you'll be cautioned. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, okay? It's important that people understand that as well. How many times that I've spoken to clients and they're like, yeah, I know what to do. It's no comment all the way. No comment, no comment. I say, okay, all right. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Do you want to talk to me first? Tell me about it a little bit. And it actually comes about that they have a defence, or they completely deny the allegation. And I'm like, what? Like, then no comment is not the way forward. But again, it's not for that. If you ever find yourself in them circumstances, seek legal advice, okay? Do not rely upon this video for legal advice. It is not. So essentially, when you're being interviewed, okay, you've got 3 options. And this is the truth. You've got 3 options. You can stay silent, known as no comment, okay? You can answer questions, or you can hand in a prepared statement. Now, there's pros and cons to all of them, and this is why you should seek legal advice, because it all depends on the facts of your situation, on the facts of your case, okay? Sometimes it is best to stay completely stum and not say anything. Sometimes it's best to hand in a prepared statement, and sometimes, just answer the police's questions, tell them exactly what you've told me, okay? What happens after the interview, okay? Now that's an interesting one, because every client asks it. What happens now? Am I going to be let out? What's happening? Now, obviously there can be numerous things that can happen, okay? The one problem that I kind of have is when they get remanded, and I don't have a problem with them being remanded. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's not something for me to decide. But when the police officer goes to me, just as I'm about to go into consultation with my client, and they go, oh yeah, LEA, yeah, he's going to be remanded, mind, or we're going to apply for him to be remanded. Right, okay, so have you told him that? No. So you haven't told him that he's going to be staying in overnight and going to court tomorrow, but you want me to go in there, who's never met this person, and tell them that, 1, I am not getting them out, and 2, they're actually going to stay in overnight and go to court. Right, because that really puts me in good stead, doesn't it? Thank you. No thank you. You can tell him that you're keeping him in. And I do try to do that as much as I can, because, I mean, if you just think about it, the shoe on the other foot a little bit, okay, and you're sat on the other side of the table, and your legal advisor walks in, and they obviously say who they are and why they're here, and sorry to tell you, but you are being kept in, and I mean, nobody wants to hear that from their legal advisor, I don't think. No, what do you mean I'm being kept in? And it just puts you in a bit of a crap situation from the get-go, to be honest. Yeah, so I always try to make the officer say, look, you tell them, that's what's happening. But going back to what actually happens, so there's a couple of options, okay? You can be released without charge, NFA, no further action, that's it, forget about it, go home, and try not to think about it again, okay? That is an option. Obviously, you can be charged, so the police will say, look, we've got enough evidence to charge you, and yeah, that's what we're going to go for. Or to put it to the CPS to charge you. Either way, whatever. They're going to charge you. And you get your court date and you go court. Or the most common one is released on bail. And off the top of my head, I think they do 3 months now. Or at least my constabulary does 3 months at a time. So you get arrested, they bail you out for around 3 months to come back, and in that time they have further lines of inquiries, okay, which again, majority of the time they do. Sometimes I question, I had one where it was very historic minor assault, and I'm like, what lines of inquiries are you going to be able to do? It's going to make a decision now or not. But they bail, and then majority of the time the bail date will come round and they'll extend the bail and extend the bail. It's no criticism of the police, because obviously they are understaffed and they have a lot of cases, and this is just life. And like I explained to my clients, it's a process. We've got to go through it, okay, step by step. It's not a light switch. You're not going to flick it on and flick it off and that is it. It's sadly not going to be like that. With being on police bail as well, is they can obviously include bail conditions. And again, these bail conditions are like for safeguarding measures of victims and stuff like that, or witnesses. So it'd be not to contact so-and-so directly or indirectly. Not to go to maybe the area or the street or the house. Areas I've had somewhere they say the whole of someone. I'm like, really? They're from there, they have family there, or they used to live there, they got family and friends there. It's not really reasonable to do the whole area. The street, okay, maybe. But yeah, so it's constantly making representations on your client's behalf. And I get this video's gone into kind of my role, and rather than just about the strict arrest, but it intertwines. Obviously, this is how I know what it's like. So PACE 30A covers the police bail conditions and time limits and stuff like that, if you wanted to go look at it. But like I said, I've tried to keep this. I don't want to put loads of where you can find it. Well, you can find it. It's not hard. Go through the legislation on the government website and it says it all there, or, through the codes. But it was just more for, this is what happens, this is the process, and this is the possible outcomes, okay? So a quick overview of what happens when you're arrested and detained in police custody, okay? So police officers got to have suspicion, they've got to have necessity for the arrest, they then got to decide to arrest you, bring you in, okay? They put you in front of a custody sergeant. The custody sergeant will listen to what the allegations and the necessity for the arrest. He will then authorise the detention. That's when the clock starts, a 24-hour clock, so police has got 24 hours from them. He will give you obviously like a small book of rights kind of thing, and your entitlements. You are entitled to free and legal independent advice, and I got to stress, duty solicitor, police station representative, we are independent. We're not in the pocket of the police. We're not with the police. I tell my clients straight away, I'm solely here for you. That's it. That's what my job is. I am here for you. Okay? Yes, I have to have a relationship with the police because I work with them daily, but that does not mean it takes anything away from my duties and my responsibilities to do my job to the best of my ability for you. So then you'd be interviewed when the police are ready. Again, you'd have had time with me or another representative if you've opted for legal advice. If you haven't, then you'd go straight into the interview and be interviewed without legal representation. Okay? After the interview's concluded, the police put what has happened to the custody sergeant in the interview, what's been said. They would then come to a decision about where to go, charged, released under investigation, which is you're not on bail or anything like that. It's just released on investigation, so the police are still investigating, and then they'll let you know what happens. No further action. It is what it says it is, and like I said, bail or charge. I'm there. I make my representations about what I think happens, puts my arguments across. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't, and then the outcome would be put to the client, and if they are bailed or released or NFA'd, generally within an hour after the interview. I understand I've gone off on different parts of the topics and stuff like that, but it is difficult just to stay one, this is what happens, this, when I have the experience and I want to say, yeah, but from what I've seen it's this and that. So I hope you've enjoyed it, okay? Like I said, it's not legal advice, it's just law with LEA. That's all it is, talking about it. I might start putting some of my own thoughts and opinions into stuff, or I may not, I don't know yet. But that's the process of being arrested, okay? Very terrifying experience for people who have never been arrested. The whole being in a cell, which I try to calm them down by saying, look, it's just your room for the minute, okay? That's all it is, it's a room, okay? Eat the food if you can. I'll eat as much as I can, free food. Hey, you know, I ain't turning that away. Coffee as much as I can. But I get it. It's daunting. It's terrifying. Please seek legal advice all the time. Okay, and yeah. Look, if you end up in that situation, don't panic. Don't stress. Oh gosh, I forgot. Okay, significant statements. Okay, now there's a lot of legal stuff that can come after about if it can be included in evidence and stuff like that. But when you're getting arrested, everything you say, the police officers are listening to. Okay? So say for an example, you've been arrested for some sort of assault and you say, they deserved it. Of course I was going to hit him. They are going to put that to you in the interview. What did you mean by that? And as you can already see, if you're then going for that you acted in self-defense, it gets really tricky, okay? And this significant statement stuff starts from the very get-go. You start talking to the police, all the way through whilst you're in custody, whilst you're walking around with the CDOs, the staff in the police station, anything like that. It matters what you say. When I'm on the phone, I tell my clients, do not say or sign anything until I'm there, okay? And that is what I mean. Do not say anything. Ask for food, stuff like that, but anything to do with the case, do not talk about. Again, with the police, I know, you know, some people want to act on impulse and say, blah, 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 blah. Think about it, okay? And I know sometimes it may have been before the caution and stuff like that, but it can make things tricky. So that's another thing I want to put in. Significant statements, they do pop up a lot. What did you mean by this? What did you mean by that? Can you explain further? It's just a bit of a mess, okay? So be sharp, be on your feet when talking to the police. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening. And I hope that just understanding the process a little bit better might just ease your experience. So thanks for watching Law with Lee. I know I've rambled on a bit. I do like to ramble. It takes me ages to get started, but once I've broken the ice in these recordings, I'll blah, blah, blah. Okay, so cool. Night.